Our subject will be the prickly pear cactus. It's found throughout the desert biomes in southwest United States. The prickly pear is the official state plant of Texas. It's green in color, and its pads are actually branches. Its needle-like thorns are its leaves. It does bloom with either yellow, red, or purple flowers and produces a fruit. The pads are even cooked and eaten as a vegetable for hundreds of years in Mexico. The fruit is also cooked and eaten. When a single line bends to touch itself or another line, a shape is created. Repetition of bending lines that connect and build upon each other in a progression from large to small creates visual rhythm, just like rhythm in music.
Hi, first, second, and third grade friends. We're on to week 3, assignment 3. This week we're going to be really playful with our artwork, and we're going to talk a lot about color, and we're going to continue our use of our lines, turning those lines into some patterns, a lot like the ones that we practiced from the first week in our names, and we're going to use some line patterns to fill our space in our piece. We make some really crazy, colorful, and patterned cactuses this week. So, color is the first page on our elements of art, and that's the one that we're going to work on this week. There's a few spots that we're going to save until we have our oil pastels so we can truly do our color mixing on our wheel, but we can definitely get started on some of the basics. So let's look more closely at the color wheel. The space that each of these colors occupy on the color wheel is extremely important. It helps to show the relationship of the other colors to one another. If we talk about secondary colors, we're talking about primary colors that we mix together to make a secondary color. The secondary colors belong in between the primary colors that make them. So red and blue, when we mix red and blue together, it makes purple. Blue and yellow, when we mix blue and yellow together, it makes green. Red and yellow, when we mix red and yellow together, we get orange. So we have the 3 primary colors, and then we have the 3 secondary colors. So the primary colors again are red, blue, and yellow. And when we mix one primary color plus one primary color, we get secondary colors. So red and blue make purple, blue and yellow make green, red and yellow make orange. The tertiary colors are where we really start to mix things up. We get a tertiary color when we mix one primary color with one secondary color. The names are really easy to remember because the name of the color it makes is just the 2 names put together. Red and purple make red purple. Purple and blue make blue purple. Blue and green make blue green. Green and yellow make yellow green. Yellow and orange make yellow orange. Orange and red make red orange. The names are also easy to remember and how to put them together because you always list the primary color first and then the secondary, like red, purple, blue, green, yellow, green. You can see that it's the primary color and then the secondary color put together to make the name of the color. Those are our basic color families: primary colors, secondary colors, and tertiary colors. Our color wheel is also something we can cut in half. Right down this line here, and on this half, we have our warm colors. Warm colors should make us feel warm and should be the colors we use to color in things that are warm. Think about sun, and fire to help you remember warm colors. On this side of the line, we have the cool colors. The cool colors can be remembered in the same way. What are the colors that you would use to depict a chilly day outside? So, warm colors, cool colors. Red, orange, and yellow are the warm colors. Green, blue, and purple are the cool colors. And the colors that they mix together to make belong on that side of the color wheel as well. We will talk more about other color terms throughout the quarter. For now, we're going to flip it over and look at the other side. We are going to definitely fill in this row here. Fill in the circles to show how secondary colors are made. You should be able to take your colors and mix, well, you don't need to mix, fill them in with the crayons that you have. So in order to complete this, I will need the primary color crayons, red, yellow, and blue, and I'll need the secondary color crayons, purple, green, and orange. So I'll mix these in as I go. Red plus yellow equals orange. Go down the page to complete so that you're making some color math. And the answer will be the secondary colors. So, which two colors do I need in order to make my green? Yellow and blue. If I couldn't remember, I could flip back over. When I mix yellow and blue together, I make, which is the color in between? Green. Yellow and blue. To make purple, purple is in between red and blue. For our color wheel, we're going to fill in primary and secondary colors on the color wheel. And we're going to use the front one as reference. So red is going to go in the top section just to the left of the top two pieces here. I'm going to skip one. That's where my tertiary color will go. And next in my rainbow color order is orange. I do want, as you're working on this, that you take your time to really stay in the lines. And look, I got distracted there and went out the line just a little bit. Take your time to color in as nice and neat as you can. It might not seem like a huge deal to need to color in this nice and neat, but it's about practicing and training your hand and training your brain to help make sure that they can color in the lines when it really matters to you. We get better doing all things when we practice. So again, we're skipping a spot. That's where our tertiary color will go. And we're going to mix our tertiary colors with our oil pastels after our oil pastels arrive. Continuing to move. So remember, you have your primary and secondary colors, and we're doing them in rainbow color order. So after yellow is green, and remember, I'm switching spots. Skip one for the tertiary color. Okay, next in my rainbow color order is my blue. Skip one and put my blue on there. That means I'm going to skip one more And my last one color will be purple or violet. Violet is kind of that artist's name for purple. So you'll see both names on your crayons. Okay. All right. The last thing we're going to talk about today are complementary colors. Complementary colors are extremely important because when we use complementary colors correctly, it helps us to create great contrast in our art, and it helps us to guide the viewer where we want them to go and to look first. It's going to draw their attention to spots in our artwork. So complementary colors are really great to know. Complementary colors are across each other on the color wheel. And when we use them next to each other, it creates, again, that contrast. The two make each other stand out when they're used next to each other. So if we look across the color wheel from red, we see green. So red is the complementary of green, and green is the complementary of red. It goes both directions. So right here in our complementary color bubbles, let's go ahead and color in our first pair. Red and green. I can go ahead and put those two crayons away because I'm done with them today. We'll go through the rest of this coloring in value, analogous colors, and tertiary colors once we have our oil pastels. All right, our next pair, let's go ahead and look at our orange. Across our color wheel from orange is blue. Blue is the complementary of orange. Orange is the complementary of blue. As a big FC Cincinnati fan, orange and blue are an easy pair for me to remember. So orange belongs in one bubble, and my blue belongs in another. And then my last pair, yellow is across from purple. Purple is the complementary of yellow, and yellow is the complementary of purple. So I'll fill this last one in. All right, this sheet is going to help you, particularly complementary colors. You have a complementary color challenge to this piece of artwork. So you might want to set this just off to the side so you can reference that when it's time to do the collage part of our artwork. You should start off this assignment with a pencil. Then you'll go back and trace over it with a black crayon. I really want to be able to see your patterns clearly. In some of your other work, it was hard, and I could tell that you spent a lot of time in your patterns. I really want to see those stand out. So we're going to trace over them with the black crayon as we add color. I'm going to go ahead and do this in a Sharpie so you can clearly see as I work. Let's flip around to my paper. All right, so these supplies I'm actually going to get a little bit further out of my way because the first section is really about drawing. Let me get my whole paper in here. Okay, so this paper for your project should be in a portrait mode. That is a nice tall piece of paper in front of you. We are not working on a landscape. We are going to do this in portrait mode. So a nice tall piece of paper in front of you. It is important that it's a nice tall piece. We are making a really big cactus, so we need a tall piece of paper for our cactus to grow to the top of our paper. So we're going to continue to use lines. You practice lots of lines and writing the alphabet, but almost any mark that we make on a paper is some kind of line. Well, when that line closes back on itself, it becomes a shape. We are going to make curved lines that stack on top of each other, and as those lines connect, they're going to form shapes, and those shapes are going to be each segment of our cactus. You're going to need to draw quite a few. Your cactus is going to branch out in a few spaces, and the segments on top are going to get smaller and smaller. Your cactus does not need to look exactly like mine, but it should follow the same kind of steps. Go ahead and watch first, and then you can go in and draw your own. To start across the bottom, I'm going to start at the bottom of my paper. And I'm going to make one nice little arch. Looks kind of like a rainbow here. From there, I'm going to have 3 spots where my cactus is going to branch out first. I'm going to do one over here. So you can see I start on my arch and I make another one and I come back. I've now made another shape. These should be a variety of different sizes. People look at our artwork, they like to see a variety. A variety adds interest to our artwork. If every single segment of my cactus looked exactly the same, that would be pretty boring. Variety helps keep our viewer engaged. All right, and I'm going to make an even bigger one. So you can see my 3 branches here for my cactus were all totally different sizes. From there, I'm going to make some smaller ones. Okay, so each segment that you make will be a little bit smaller. I'll even bring that up. So you're just kind of stacking it, almost like scoops on an ice cream cone. Now, each one doesn't have to be exactly like that. Some can be a lot taller and skinnier, or shorter and fatter. Again, think about some variety as you add to your artwork here. A little lumpy one there, a lumpy one there. I think here I'll have a nice short and fatter one. I'm really filling my paper. You'll hear me talk all the time in art that it's important for us to fill up our paper. We want to fill this paper up. I think that's about good. Maybe one little guy here. That looks like a blank spot. Okay, there we go. That's my cactus. I used curved lines, and when those curved lines touched one another, they closed off and made shapes. We'll talk more about shapes next week as we work through our Elements of Art packet. So shapes will be a focus next week, but we kind of already have an idea. When a line closes back on itself and closes the space up, it creates a shape. We have lots of oval or circular type shapes stacked on one of each other in this artwork. Okay, so what's next? Next, we're going to use our lines. We're using lines to create some different line patterns throughout our piece. This is going to be a bright, bold, and colorful piece. Not every section has to be full of lines, but we want to definitely add quite a few. So in this section here, in this shape of my cactus, maybe my pattern won't fill it all the way up, but it's definitely going to have at least some. Some of these smaller ones, I will just probably color in one color. They're a little too small to try to fill with patterns, but I have plenty of bigger shapes there that I can definitely fill with some patterns. So let's think about some patterns that I can use to fill my space. I'll start with a zigzag pattern. And remember, you're working in pencil, and maybe at the point when you get to your patterns, if you feel confident about your pattern making, maybe this is the point where maybe you're ready to go into creating these with your black crayon right off the bat, so you're not tracing it too, if you know that you can make some line patterns. Maybe up here I'll make a pattern of dots. It's a big section. I think the big sections should probably have 2 patterns in them. Remember, some variety. Keep it interesting. Put some wavy lines here. Stripes are a great pattern to make. Stripes are also a pattern that you can make go in lots of different directions. Here, I'm going to make like a little star pattern. The star pattern is going to be fun because the star pattern is going to look like some of those prickles on the end of a cactus. I have a little star pattern there. What other lines can I use to make some patterns? I'm going to do 2 zigzag lines on top of each other. It's also kind of like making some X's next to each other, so it's kind of that crisscross pattern. Okay, I'm going to speed this up a little bit as I fill in my space, and you can go ahead and pause the video as you work on yours so I don't get too far ahead until you're ready for the next step.
All right, so you watched me fill in my space with all my patterns. I left a few spots blank where I'm going to really add some bold color. You don't have to fill up every single section, but I'd say well over half of your cactus sections, when we're making a crazy line cactus, so over half of your section should be filled with some sort of line patterns. Now, as you're working, remember, I've added a reference sheet of some patterns that you can choose to go into Schoology to find in the week 3 folder, and keep that open while you work. If you're not sure, man, looking at this section, I just don't know which line pattern to make, that's what a reference paper is for. So I encourage you to use that. To finish off your work for lesson number 1 for week 3, you need to make sure that you go through on your cactus and you have traced your pencil lines with your crayon. Now, it's important you take your time to do that. Now, you made some beautiful lines with your pencil, you erased if you didn't like them and you fixed them. So make sure you trace over top of those nice and neat too to keep your lines. I want you to meet me back here tomorrow for part 2 of our lesson, where we're going to talk about adding color. Third graders are going to need to add a little shading with an analogous color, and we'll talk about what that looks like. We'll also talk about how we're going to use our complementary color construction paper that we're going to choose to add the leaves to our cactus. Remember, our leaves are the spikes of a cactus. So we're going to add those leaves in a collage. So we'll talk about all that tomorrow. So when you come back tomorrow for lesson, you're going to bring back your cactus paper. Your pencil lines will have already been traced with your black crayon. You're going to bring all your colored crayons because we're going to color it the rest of the way in tomorrow. And we're going to talk about scissor safety, so you'll need your scissors. We're going to talk about using our glue. You'll need your glue. You'll need your 2 pieces of construction paper and your complementary colors. So remember, our complementary color pairs are orange and blue, red and green, or purple and yellow. So pick your pair and bring just those 2 pieces with you tomorrow. And I think that's all you need. Your cactus paper, your crayons, scissors, glue, complementary color construction paper. Those are what we're going to use tomorrow for day 2 for your lesson, and then you'll finish out your work. And then when you're done, you're done. You'll upload it to Artsonia. See you tomorrow for lesson part number 2.